Hey everyone, thank you for tuning in. Sorry about the delay, but thank you for sticking around. My name is Cassie Riva. I'm the events coordinator at An Unlikely Story. Before I introduce Varian Johnson and Shannon Wright, I wanted to go over a few technical points. If you have any issues with video or audio quality, click on the help button in the upper right corner of your screen and follow the prompts. For any unresolvable issues, just leave the presentation and log back in with Google Chrome. Any questions for the creators can be written in the question and answer box at the bottom of your screen. If you'd like to buy the book, there's a button in the lower middle part of your screen that's going to take you directly to our webpage. And when you purchase Twins, we're going to send you a signed book plate while supplies last. I'm going to say this before the event because I might not remember later. If you want it by Christmas, you have to order it by this Friday. With that said, I am delighted to introduce Coretta Scott King Honor-winning author Varian Johnson and rising cartoonist Shannon Wright. Varian Johnson is the author of several novels for children and young adults, including The Parker Inheritance, for which he won a Coretta Scott King Honor Award, The Great Green Heist, which was an ALA notable children's book, and To Catch a Cheat, another Jackson Green adventure and a Kids Indie Next List pick. He received an MFA in writing for children and young adults from the Vermont College of Fine Arts, and now he teaches there. He's also a twin. Shannon Wright is an illustrator and cartoonist from Virginia. She's illustrated 2 picture books, My Mommy Medicine by Edwidge Dandicat and I'm Gonna Push Through by Jasmine Wright. She also provided the cover art for several books. Shannon graduated with a BFA from Virginia Commonwealth University, where she co-teaches a comics course during the summer. Together, Varian and Shannon have created a wonderful new middle grade graphic novel called Twins, which is now a national indie bestseller and an NPR Best Book of 2020. Twins tells the tale of 2 twin sisters just entering middle school and the ups and downs they face while learning to be their own persons. Varian's relatable and fun storyline goes perfectly with Shannon's colorful and gorgeous illustrations and truly makes the book come to life. Tonight, Varian and Shannon will be in conversation with the Diary of a Wimpy Kid author and owner of An Unlikely Story bookstore, Jeff Kinney. Without further ado, Varian, Shannon, and Jeff, thank you so much for joining us tonight. Bring you guys up on screen. Where's Jeff? There he is.
Oh, good. All right. Cassie, thank you so much for the wonderful introduction. And I wanted to apologize before we got started to all of our guests who tuned in on time. We did too. Both of my browsers on my computer broke at the same time. And so we've been frantically trying to figure out how to get this rolling. Varian and Shannon, this is so cool for me. I'm so excited about this. There are just some books that keep popping. As a bookstore owner, you just see these books keep popping and popping and popping. And Twins, I just kept seeing it again and again. And about a month ago, I said, is there any way we could get Varian and Shannon to come and do an event with us? And we got an answer back the next day, a yes. And so I've been very excited about this for a long time. So welcome to this virtual event. And thank you.
Thank you, Jeff. Thank you so much for having us. It is our pleasure.
Having us.
Oh, cool. And thank you so much for supporting an independent bookstore. As you know, we'd much rather have you in person, but these days are very strange indeed. I'm sure you've done a lot of these events already. So can you give me any tips before we get started on how can we make this the best event that you've done yet? Aside from starting on time, because we're way past that.
Oh, you know what? Let's just have fun. Let's just roll with it. I love just talking about books and what everyone's reading and how we come to these stories and what excites us. I just like to talk. So.
Great. Excellent. Yeah. I do too. And I love to talk about books. This is great. Now, so Varian, you've written a number of books. Shannon, you've written some books. You've illustrated books. How did you know? When did you know that this book was going to be special, that it was going to kind of pop in a different sort of way?
Oh, I don't know. Shannon, when did you know?
I don't know if I knew. It was more like, man, I really hope this pops off.
Yeah.
And I don't know, when we were creating it and just our chemistry of making the book, I don't know. That's when I felt like we were cooked up something good in my mind. Because just so much of Varian's heart had gone into the writing, and so much of my heart had gone into the drawing, that you just like hope the ingredients come together to make a beautiful like cake. So I think our cake came out really nice.
It actually, there's some cake colors in there on the cover as well. It's sort of like a birthday cake. In fact, I wanted to ask about the cover. Is that there's something about it that's very graphic and iconic. Like you can tell when it's a great book because you can see it from across the room. And I wanted to know, is that how that cover started off, or did it evolve a lot over time?
So the cover that we landed on was actually my favorite sketch. I remember sending about 6 sketches, and the focus was always on the girls. It was on this like healthy competition that they were having, this like rivalry going on. But then this particular one we landed on, I love the sketch so much because it just like summed up the book. It summed up this rivalry. I like landed on the whole idea of like this bulletin board, which I've come to realize I love bulletin boards because you can just like have fun with them. Yeah. And it just like, it like sung to me. And so I was like praying. I was like, oh my gosh, I hope my editors picked this one. And they did. Because sometimes that does not happen in the industry.
I see.
Yeah, you know, when I saw the covers, when I saw the 6 that you had sketched up, I didn't even comment on it because I've been around for long enough. Like I always feel like every time I say I have a favorite cover, like another cover is picked. So like I'm just gonna be quiet and like and hope that they pick my favorite, which was that one as well too.
Yeah, that's really cool. And so I know that I'm not exactly the target audience for this book. However, I was reading the book and I found myself, you know, I like the elevator pitch is that it's these 2 twins who get into a competition in terms of the class president role. And I found myself really getting drawn in. Like it's a very, very complex situation between these girls. And I found myself, I sort of lost myself in the book. And that's a great credit to both of you. I was wondering, did you both draw on your experiences as children or maybe as adults to get to the heart of the story, to get to the emotions of the story?
Yeah, I'm a twin. I am 5 minutes younger than my brother. And when we started middle school, we were put in separate classes. Yeah. And only one class, but it was right during lunch. And I was so confused about when do I go and where do I go? Who do I sit with? And like that first week was horrible. Like I got swindled out of $5. Like I had to sit by myself for 3 days. It really felt bad. And he was so happy. And I was like, you know, I wasn't happy for him at all. I was jealous, right? And eventually I got to being able to find kind of my own groove. And then when I got to 9th grade, then we had something called Junior Air Force ROTC in 9th grade in high school. And I was placed in that too, separate from my brother. And that's when I really kind of figured out how to speak up for myself. So all of that was drawn from real life, trying to figure out who I was separate from him while he's just you know, ready to kind of pull away and be his own separate person. And I'm kind of trying to maybe hold him back a little bit.
That's fun. I have to insert something right there. Is that my son, when he was in kindergarten, there was a girl named Anya. And he came home from kindergarten. He said, Anya's really good at math. And I was like, yeah. And he goes, I need to figure out a way to slow her down.
But he was like, how do I sabotage this person?
And I was like, that's my boy right there. Shannon, I'm sure you've drawn on your own emotions to tell this story, but you have to tell the story visually. And I really felt the feelings that the girls feel, especially on those 2-page spreads where they're really facing off against each other. How do you do that? Do you have a mirror right by your computer where you feel those emotions, or do you go back to a feeling that you had when you were a kid?
It's a mixture of going back to those feelings, I am a very emotional person. I'm that person who like cries in commercials, like the most simplest commercials. I like little things. I'll see like a puppy that's like very cute and just get emotional. But yeah, whenever I'm drawing and like if a character's mad, that reflects on my face while I'm drawing. If they're happy and smiling, I'm also happy and smiling. So if a stranger were to come into my room and they would be like, why is she just smiling at her computer? I would just be like, but yeah, I pull from just how like animated and expressive I get. I've always loved to just be like a clown, be like super funny and like outgoing. I get that from my dad who could like talk to a rock. We mentioned that like Francine could talk to like a rock.
Yeah.
And then just those feelings of like going back to middle school. I was relatively like excited to start middle school. Where I grew up, my elementary school was right next to the middle school, so you could just walk to it.
Yeah.
And I was excited. I was excited to like start these classes, but I soon realized I was not prepared for like going back to math. I thought I was like pretty decent at math, and then I got into pre-calculus, and the neighboring elementary school with the kids that came from that school were like so much better than my elementary school. And I was just like, did we even learn the same math? Kids are like brainiacs, and we're just like okay at math.
Yeah.
And so that was hard to navigate trying to be like, I feel like I'm falling behind. So
yeah, well, that's a part of the story as well. Varian, you said something really interesting. I know that you had a twin brother, but you said that this is not a memoir, but the emotions are real. So how much of your story, or how much of the emotions that you had in this kind of competition with your brother, in a way, made its way into this story?
Oh, like all of them. I mean, my brother and I get along really well now, and we got along well then. But I think when so many people see you as the same, it's hard when someone is better than you at something else, and when like you kind of have to correct them or say, "Oh, well," it's almost like, okay, like when we were growing up, I hated mayonnaise on sandwiches, and he loved it. And so, but he had to stop ordering it because they would assume, okay, if I don't like mayonnaise, he wants like double the mayonnaise. And like, of course he doesn't. But like, there's this strange kind of dichotomy when folks think, well, someone's really good at something, so someone else feels it must be really bad at it. And it's not the case, but it feels that way. It does. It's tough a little bit when your twin, your partner, whomever, is like really, really good at something or really wants to do something that you don't want to do, and you can't figure out how to stop them or how to get better or things like that.
Yeah. And so that's a major theme of the book, is that they don't want to be perceived as being the same person, right? And something that was really interesting to me, Shannon, I was really curious reading the book and experiencing it as the audience, is that sometimes I couldn't tell which character was the featured character at the beginning of the chapter. And I was curious about that. I was curious for a number of reasons. One, I wanted to know if you wanted to confuse us on purpose a little bit. And another question is about their hair, right? Is because they look different. And I was wondering, are you trying to give the reader clues as to which character you're featuring, or do you let the reader figure it out on their own?
So in a way, I kind of wanted to confuse the audience just to play into like the whole plot, where everyone has just been confusing them this whole time. Yeah. So as like a reader, you're just like, okay, well, if it's Maureen, whatever, if it's Francine, whatever, but it's like, that's the whole point of the story. Like, it does matter. Yeah. But in the story, I wanted to include like little signifiers to indicate that one twin was a different twin. Again, they look very similar, but this is something maybe people point out, but Francine has her ears pierced. Yeah. And my decision on that was, there's an event in the book that happens that kind of is the catalyst on why Francine wants to separate. And my idea was, she further wanted to make herself an individual. So she got her ears pierced that summer going into 6th grade. And then she also tends to wear this like yellow headband and stuff. So those were just like little indicators. There's like a little cut that she has that's hard to tell if you're just like quickly going through it. But if you go back and read it, like that's the beautiful thing about graphic novels. You tend to just go back and dissect it, that you'll find those little indicators.
I love that. I love their hair, and I know that you specialize in natural hair and in your illustrations. I think it adds like so much character to the characters, but it's really interesting to me as a cartoonist, because as a cartoonist, I'm always trying to make my characters look the same, so they're very instantly and easily recognizable. But you allowed yourself to have the characters change their look all the time. And tell us a little bit about why that was important to you.
I really wanted it to reflect just like day-to-day of going to middle school. Like, you're going to change your outfit, you're going to get more confident in your looks and stuff. Throughout the story, Maureen gets a little bit more confident with how she dresses and stuff, because we're set to believe that like Maureen dresses like a baby. She's not as fashionable as Francine. But I've come to find out like clothes are a good indicator to show a character changing and evolving and growing and stuff. So and I mean, same way with like colors and stuff. Like, we tend to be like, oh, if they're starting with soft colors, they're very like gentle and just quiet and timid. And then the bold colors come in because they're like, I'm here. Like, you have to recognize me. So.
Yeah, I love it. I think I'm gonna have to read it again. And Varian, I was curious. You've trusted your story with Shannon, and I wondered what was additive in the process. This is your first graphic novel for both of you, actually. But what was additive in that process? What were the discoveries that you made about the story because of because of what Shannon brought to it?
Well, it was interesting. So Shannon saw the script as I was working on it, which, when I'm working on a prose novel, no one sees it until I've got multiple drafts done. But she's seeing it not only the first draft, but as I'm writing this first draft. So it was really scary at first. But also, we could talk a lot more about the direction of the story, and then I could get a sense of what really resonated with her. Like, early on, I realized that she carries emotion so well that I don't have to over-explain. Like, it's always a balance trying to give Shannon enough information to set up a scene without giving so much that I am limiting her vision of what's going on. But I could just say the girls look upset or mad or happy, and use different levels of that emotional spectrum, and then she could take it and carry it the rest of the way because she does it so well.
So well, yeah. And how did you, Shannon, I mean, this was a big leap of faith for both of you, because you had never done a graphic novel before, and all of a sudden you've got, how many pages is this book?
Everybody brings up the pages. Shannon, I promise you, I feel like we've done 1,000 of these, and almost every time someone or Shannon will like bring up that page count just a little bit.
Well,
I didn't do it this time, so.
No, but you're not disagreeing.
I've seen Dragon Hoops, so you have a little ways to go. That thing's about that big.
It's huge. It's wonderful.
But Shannon, something you were very honest about, I think it was in the bio at the end of the book, is that you said that this is hard. The process that you have to go through is, you said tedious, but I knew where you were going with that. When your nose is really to the grindstone, how many hours a day are we talking about? How many days a week? What is that like for an artist?
Hours. It would depend on the days. Like, some days I couldn't bring myself to like even work on a page, and then I would feel guilty, and then I would make it up, and then I would just do like 12 hours. And yeah, that and that turned out not to be good, because then you forget to eat and do basic things and socialize. But it's varying to different degrees. I definitely eventually tried to get on a schedule, like a 9 to 5, because I freelance. So the freelance, you're just like, oh, I can work any hours, but that like sets you up to just work forever and not stop. And so eventually I tried to get on like a 9 to 5 schedule or like an 8-hour schedule with like breaks and stuff like that. But it was a lot of hours.
Sounds like
like the simple answer is like it was a lot of hours. It was tedious.
Yeah. So I think we're talking about graphic novels. It's really snuck up on the publishing industry. I think we went from going from having to explain that graphic novels are literature, graphic novels count as reading and all that, to being like, oh my gosh, I think graphic novels are the dominant form of kids' literature now, and maybe the dominant form of books in some ways. So, you know, we're all heading in the same direction, I think. And I was curious to know, Varian, when you conceived of this book, did you set out to do a graphic novel and then you thought of the story, or did you think of this story and then say this would be best served as a graphic novel?
They came pretty close together. First, I was trying to convince Scholastic to turn one of my books, The Great Green Heist, into a graphic novel. I'm like, hey, you know, it's already done. Like, you know, double the fun, right? And they were like, oh no, it's selling really well in paperback, but do you have any other ideas? And I had been toying with this idea about twins for a long time. And I thought, well, this would be great. But it also coincided with my daughters. I have a 6-year-old and a 9-year-old. And they both, especially my 9-year-old, she loves graphic novels. But as much as she loves them, we just didn't see a lot of graphic novels that featured Black girls as main characters.
Sure.
And so I thought, well, this might be an opportunity to like really showcase diversity to another level. Like we've gotten so much better with seeing people of color on covers and in books, but now we see it page after page after page. And it's very affirming, I think.
It's absolutely appreciated, and I love that you know that this publishing world is becoming more diverse and more representative of the of the people in this world. So I think it's a gift to everybody. This book that you've written. Shannon, I was curious, like when I know that you teach comic arts at your college nearby. When did you realize that comics could be a career for you?
Funny enough, I didn't even realize until maybe my junior or senior year of college. I had gone to school for illustration. And I was like, I'm going to be an editorial illustration. I'm going to be like an illustrating legend, whatever. That's the goal. I'm just doing illustration, nothing else. And then I got around some friends that were in comic classes and doing comicologies. I had like an older group that were just making comics. And I was like, wait a minute, what? I was like, I can take my love for drawing and all of these stories in my head and make do storytelling and make a book. And then Kelly Alder, who is a professor at my university, who is, I mentioned him in acknowledgements. I credit him as like my mentor, my second dad, and everything. I took one comic class with him, and then I didn't stop taking a comic class with him. And then he was teaching a comics course at my university, and then I became his TA. And I was just like, I love this. I love everything about comics. I love storytelling. I love the characters, this world building. And I kind of just like ran with it, and I haven't looked back.
And Varian, your path to this moment hasn't been as straight. I read that you were a civil engineering major in college. I was computer science and criminal justice ultimately. So we take these swerving paths. What were those steps to get from there to here, from your college days, thinking what you were going to be to now?
Oh wow, really winding. I loved writing when I was growing up, but like I wasn't always the best writer. Like I really struggled with how to find my voice. I was always good at math and science, and I loved math and science. So engineering kind of was a natural path to go on, and I loved doing it for all the years that I did it. But I was doing engineering, I was designing bridges, and I was writing at the same time. And there are some things I didn't like about it, but some things I really loved about it, and some things I missed about engineering, but it just got to be too much. Books were doing really, really well, which is nice. So I was able to take a break from the engineering job, which is kind of stretched into a while now. I don't know if I could remember how to do it anymore. But it's nice. I always, Jeff, I think you're a great example of this too. Like I talk to so many students who want to be this one thing, and I want to encourage them, like, you don't have to limit yourself. Like, you have all these opportunities to do all these different things. Yeah. Like, you don't have to just lock yourself into one thing and that's the only thing you do. And you're allowed to change your mind on that as well and do other things too. So it doesn't feel as scary that you got to know your whole life path when you're 12 years old.
Especially in college. Something I really like that comes across in this book is mall culture. And, it's a part of the kids' experience. It's a part of their socialization. And Shannon, you do such a great job of capturing what it looks like. It takes me right to the Providence Mall, where I spent a lot of time over the last year. Was that a big part of both of your experience growing up? Going to the mall with your friends?
Yeah, I loved going to the mall. Going to the mall was just like, it was like an adventure. It was like a special treat. We went to like Walmart and stuff a lot, and I was like, oh, it's Walmart. But it was like going to the mall. Right. You would get dressed up to go to the mall because you didn't know if you were going to see kids from school. You would walk around. You kind of had money, but you didn't have money. You just felt really like cool walking around the mall. and I loved it. I loved window shopping, being like, I'm going to get that $60 thing that I can't afford.
I remember the first time I was able to go to the mall and walk around without my parents, without my mom. And that was such a big deal. And it was me and my friend. And like, we just walked in a loop for an hour talking about comic books. But like, we were at the mall and like, we were doing like mall, and like, we got a slice of Sabaro's pizza, right? Because that's what you do at the mall, right? And it was
I just went last year I wrote a book and I holed myself up in a hotel that was right off the Providence Mall. Yeah. And so every day I lived literally on a rotation of Popeyes and Taco Bell. Popeyes, Taco Bell. And then I'd always get there and I'd be like, did I have Taco Bell last? Because I need to switch back to Popeyes. But Shannon, I was poking around your Twitter and I found out that we have at least 3 things in common. So they are karaoke, Dr. Pepper, and King's Dominion. You don't mention King's Dominion, but you live in Richmond, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay. So we have those 3 things in common. So I'd like to know, what's your go-to karaoke song? If you really need to blow them away, where are you going?
Oh man, that's a good question. Oh man. Okay. Probably anything by Destiny's Child. Okay. I love singing Bills, Bills, Bills. So anything like Destiny's Child or Queen, because I like when you do a Queen song, you don't like sing it, you perform it. So that's like my go-to, because I'm just like, we're performing now.
All right. And soda, your favorite soda?
It's Dr. Pepper. It's funny because maybe an hour ago, my brother bought some more Dr. Pepper, and I was trotting around the house, and I was like, I love Dr. Pepper. Dr. Pepper.
I think it's so funny with Dr. Pepper. I like when you have it, you're like, this is so good. I'm never going to drink Coke again. And then I always end up going back to Coke. So, and then your favorite ride at King's Dominion? It's been a while since I've been there.
So I think they actually got rid of this ride. I want to say it was the Shockwave.
Okay.
It was back before they like changed everything. But that was like one of my ride. Either that or one of the Drop Tower. I love the Drop Tower.
Okay.
I love heights. I'm like that friend that's like, let's go on every roller coaster.
Not you, Varian. You're not a heights guy.
I hate anything where I'm in one place and my stomach is somewhere else. No, sir. No, thank you.
I love it. Let's go.
All right, I have a few more questions for you before we take questions from the audience. I'm really bad about hogging our authors. Varian, my question for you: now that you've had a taste of graphic novels, is it going to be a little hard to go back to prose, or do you need to escape?
I love doing both. They both work different muscles, I think. And there are benefits of both. Like, I think some stories work really well in graphic form, and then some work well in prose form. So I feel like, the great thing is I can maybe dabble a little bit, which is nice.
Yeah. And Shannon, I read that you like writing about joyous moments, which I really liked hearing that. I liked reading that. It's 2020 hasn't been a very joyous year. Have you found anything to be joyful about in this year?
I actually have. I've kind of fallen back in love with playing video games. I play video games a lot with my friends.
Oh, really?
Yeah, we actually played last night.
And what's your go-to game?
It's pretty violent, so I don't want to like say it on the stream. But yeah.
We'll save it for the grown-up, the after dark version.
Yeah, but I guess I'll say the Nintendo Switch. Anything on Nintendo.
I'm always surprised. My wife does not play video games. I wouldn't touch them. So I'm always surprised when I see women on Twitter talking about Animal Crossing or whatever game they're into, and it's really funny because that's not a part of my life. Is it's my kids play video games. I played video games for a really long time. And then when I was about maybe 25 years old, I used to play a lot of different games. And then this one day I was in like a chat room. It would always go to the chat room after the game. Mm-hmm. And it would always be the same question. Where are you from? Australia, New Zealand, blah, blah, blah. I felt so sophisticated. And this one time somebody said, how old are you? And everybody wrote 9, 11. I thought it was all people like me. And so I literally went cold turkey on video games for 20 years. And then Fortnite got me. And Fortnite's a different kind of game, so I'm gonna do one more thing before we move on to the audience questions. So, Varian, I read that you were part of your of Wilson High School Academic Challenge team, which is quite a mouthful, and I felt a little bit jealous because I was a part of its academic team where I grew up in the Washington, D.C. area. And then in my last year, I've been training for 4 years. In my last year, this new smarter kid came to the school and I got bumped out. Right?
Oh, that's the worst. That's the worst.
Yeah. So here at the bookstore, I actually built game show cabinets, and we now run the local,
nice
kind of thing with high school quiz show, and it's pretty cool. So I get to be the host. I didn't get to be a participant, but I would like to put you guys. I want to test your chops. Are you ready for this?
Oh Lord!
It's gonna be Shannon versus Varian. All right. Okay. Hand has to go up, and here are your categories. So in your amounts, you ready? So it's between $100 and $400. Alliterative book title. So anything that starts both, parts of the title start with the same letter. Page to screen. So that's books that got turned into movies. Shannon, you look like you weren't ready for me to do this tonight. and blockbuster books. Okay, blockbuster books. So I want to see, we're going to do this for a minute and see how it goes. So Shannon, you pick your category. Alliterative book titles, page to screen, blockbuster books, and then give me an amount from $100 to $400.
Let's do blockbuster books for, let's start easy, 100.
For 100. This kid's horror series has sold more than 350 million copies since its introduction in 1992.
I was born in 94. Horror?
The answer is Goosebumps. All right. Varian, you should know Goosebumps. You should know Goosebumps. R.L. Stein's going to come for you. All right, Varian, you get to steal the category.
Okay, let's do the same category. Let's do it for 200.
For 200. Some people credit this Dan Brown book with saving publishing when it was published.
That's a lie, but it's the Da Vinci Code.
Very good. Some of my questions are lies. Okay, what do you got next?
Oh, me? Oh, let's go. Let's live it up. Let's go 400. Let's go 400.
Corey's jumping ahead.
Take it home.
This final installment of the Harry Potter series is said to have sold 16 million copies in the first 24 hours.
Oh, the last one. Is that good enough? The last one? Is it the Deathly Hallows? Is that the last one?
Deathly Hallows is correct. All right, I'm going to give you 2 more questions. You ready? Page to screen. So these are books that became movies. I'm going to give you the actors, and you tell me the movie. Are you ready? And they're only movies after 1994. So, okay, Shannon.
There you go, Shannon.
Rachel McAdams and Ryan Gosling.
I know this one. Do you know it, Shannon?
Right? What? Ryan Gosling and Rachel McAdams? Oh my gosh!
I know. I've seen this movie way too many times, I must admit.
Look, you're gonna say it, and I'm gonna be like, "Of course."
It's The Notebook. It's The Notebook.
Right.
Oh, I remember watching that movie.
The Kiss in the Rain, he's like, I wrote you 365 letters. I wrote you every day. I watch it a lot.
My best friend made me watch that movie and then recorded me crying.
All right. Last one, alliterative titles for 400. Ben Affleck and Rosamund Pike.
Oh, I know this one too.
Oh, see, that's why you were on the all academic.
I'm extremely
challenge.
competitive when it comes to trivia. I am so competitive. It's Gone Girl, right?
Gone Girl is correct. Okay, my last question for you before we get to the questions, I told you there's just one more thing, is that the world opens up. We don't have to wear masks. We're okay. We're vaccinated. Everything opens up all at once. Tell me what you're doing, each one of you. Shannon, you go first.
Hugging my parents, seeing my parents, and probably going straight to New York to hug a bunch of my friends.
Yeah, that's cool. And how about you, Varian?
Gosh, I feel guilty. I guess I should say hug my parents too. I was going to say go to the beach. I would really like a vacation, like on the beach. I would love that. But like I could take my parents with me. Maybe like we could all meet together on the beach. That counts.
Hug your parents at the beach. That's good. All right, so Cassie, here's the way we're going to do it. I know that there are a lot of people watching. So there's 79 people, which means it's really 140 at home. And then we're broadcasting on Facebook Live as well, where we have about 500 to 700 people watching. So lots of people watching this event. And Cassie, we have a few questions. Why don't you pick not the best question or the most upvoted question, but the third most upvoted question and see what we have.
All right. This one is from Rain. She says, hi, I'm Rain from the Philippines. I just finished Twins last month, and it has an amazing plot story that relates to our sibling relationship to my brother. How did you get the concept of including the class election in the story?
Okay. Hi, Rain. Wait, I think I've talked to you on what's the thing that you young hip people, Instagram. That's what it's called. My brother and I did not run against each other, but we both ran for class offices. He ran for president and I ran for treasurer. My slogan was, vote for me, I'm good at math. And I got elected every year I ran.
That's cool. Same slogan every year?
Same slogan every year. Every year. Don't mess with a good thing.
I mean, Varian created the story and stuff, but it's funny. It's about a class election because in high school I was class president for 3 years, and I was like, okay.
You were like Fran, like you did like everything in high school.
I did too much in high school.
All right, Cassie, how about the seventh most upvoted question?
This one is
we don't want to peak too early.
This one's from Callista. She's 11 years old and she read The Parker Inheritance for school last year and loved it. She's wondering if you're going to write a sequel to it.
Hi, Callista. I love this is The Parker Inheritance. I love this book and it was really hard. Like, Shannon's talking about it took her years and days to write, to do the drawing for Twins. It took 3.5 years of hardcore writing to do Parker because it's so complicated. That to say, maybe I never say never, but I don't have a good story yet for a sequel, but you never know. You don't want to have a bad sequel. It's got to be good if you're going to do a sequel.
Well, look, I can say from my experience, you don't have to have a good idea for a sequel at all. You just keep grinding them out.
Well, you're Jeff Kinney, but you have great ideas, Jeff, so that doesn't really count.
Hey, I did see something I was excited about, but I'm not sure if I should be excited about it, is that it says on our website, an unlikely story, it says twins #1. Will there be more?
Fingers for more.
Secret
I mean,
stuff?
I'm crossing my fingers for more.
Okay, good. Yeah, I hope there are more. These are great characters. Okay, how about Cassie? How about a question for Shannon, or one that could be asked by Shannon as well? Answered by Shannon as well.
Hi, this one's from Hannah. She says, "Hi, Varian and Shannon. I feel like I already connect with the characters in the book Twins, and I haven't even read it yet. I plan to read it as soon as possible. What made you two decide the names of the twins, and what are your favorite characters?" Who are your favorite characters?
Well, Varian, you came up with the names.
The names were always the names. Those two names were always the same. The other ones kind of bounced around a little bit, I think. But like the look of them was all you, like all of the characters. I had a couple of mini things, but like everything else was all you when you came up with how they looked.
Varian gave me some names and some characteristics, and then I just like hit the grindstone, and I was like, okay, they're gonna look like this. They're gonna have this like feature. They're gonna do this. In terms of my favorite character, I don't think. My favorite character is Monique. I love Monique with all of my heart. She is the fifth wheel that keeps this friendship going, as it's mentioned in the book. She's also someone who just like gets to the nitty-gritty of it. She's like over the drama. She's like, all right, let's cut this. What's happening? Let's talk about our feelings. And a lot of the times I feel like I resonate with Monique because I'm just like, I've been like the glue in a lot of my friendships where I'm just like, okay, what's going on? Let's talk about it. I'm tired of everyone fussing. Let's just get to the core root of everything. So I love Monique with all my heart.
Is Monique's the one with wild brown hair? Is that correct?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I was wondering. It seems like there needs to be a side story about her. There's something wild about that girl. I like her teeth as well. They're really cool. All right, Cassie, your next question.
All right. This one's from Elizabeth. She said, "Varian, what was your favorite scene to write? And Shannon, what was your favorite scene to draw?"
Oh. Ooh. I don't know if I have a favorite scene. I loved all the family scenes, I will say. I really loved the family scenes a lot. So those were really a joy to write. I don't know if I have a specific favorite family scene, but probably the first family scene. Probably the first family scene was probably my favorite to write. I love all the scenes in the book.
Shannon, something I felt like something that I thought that was really interesting was how much life you brought to the bookshelf. There is a lot there, and I was wondering how much you got guidance from Varian and how much you just took it. But that bookshelf is alive with history of the characters.
So I think from Varian, we talked about the teddy bears being on there and like some awards and whatnot. But in terms of like what pictures and everything else, just creating the room in general, Varian was like, "Shannon, do your thing," and I was like, "Okay." And so I just put a lot of stuff in there because my room growing up, I just had stuff on shelf. I just had posters everywhere. I love stuffed animals and toys, so I just have a lot of toys. But yeah. And to answer the question, I love this scene where they're standing off against each other in their bedroom. But this lunchroom scene, this was the scene that I actually did when I was doing samples to decide if I was going to be the artist for the book. And it's still one of my most favorite scenes because at any given moment, I feel like I could take like a pencil or like a pen or a marker and just like draw on the page. And I personally love books where I feel like I can draw on them. I mean, don't draw in library books, but if you own it, I mean, why not?
All right, now we're going to get into the really, really good stuff. Why don't we go, Cassie, 3, 2, 1 on the remaining questions with the most votes. So the third most first. How about that?
Okay. This one's from Henry. How did you two decide to work together?
I was curious about that as well.
Oh, that's good. Let me do the short version of it. I knew I was going to do the book, and so I was working with my editor at the time at Scholastic, and I had a handful of pages, and we had been talking about collaborators, and I had been really clear I only wanted to work with a woman of color, specifically an African American woman. And so, like, we're scouring, looking for different people, really looking for people with comics experience, because I knew I wanted to have a partner who was very strong in that, because I was not. And I talked to some friends, Nyla Magruder, the cartoonist, and Shannon's name kept on popping up. And so Shannon can tell her side of how she reached out. I will say it was close between her. We were looking at two people. It's down to two people, and the other person had a lot more experience. But we saw that cafeteria scene, and my editor and I were like, "Yep, if we can get her, she is who we want. She captures this perfectly." So.
Cool. That's cool.
Yeah, the Varian side of the story. Yeah. How did I come to be? I was doing editorial, just drawing, picking up jobs where I can. And beforehand, I had gotten asked to do a graphic novel that I ended up turning down because it was just the topic and just the themes were a little too heavy for me, especially like all the editorial work I was dealing with. And so I turned it down, and I was like, well, I guess there goes graphic novels. And I kid you not, maybe like 2 or 3 weeks later, I got an email from Scholastic about Varian's story idea. And they were inquiring. They sent me the draft, and I was like, this. And it just like, I read it, and it was exactly what I wanted to do. It felt like someone had actually looked at my work and my interest and was just like, here, do you want to take a chance on this? And I was like, I've been waiting for this. And so that's how that came to be. I did the samples, it worked out, and the rest was history.
That's awesome. All right, Cassie, our second most upvoted question.
What's your favorite middle school memory?
Oh.
Is there such a thing? Is that an oxymoron?
I know, right?
I have so many bad,
Right.
so many bad middle school memories. And there's got to be one that's good though. I don't know, Shannon. You were in middle school way closer to now than I was. What do you remember? What do you like?
I remember I liked going to the Science Museum because we went to the Richmond Science Museum, and my friend bought me this like turtle necklace. My best friend at the time bought me a turtle necklace. I really loved that. Geez Louise.
The turtle necklace.
The turtle necklace. I just remember going to I didn't really go to a lot of museums. So when we went to the Science Museum for the first time and we went to like the IMAX theater, I was like, this is amazing. And so, yeah, that was like one of my best middle school memories.
I remember mine. It was early 90s, and my brother and I had bought these jacket. We needed a jacket, and my mom had bought us these Arkansas jackets, and the only reason she bought them was because we liked the color red and they were on sale. And that was the year that they went to the NCAA national championships. And so like for like a month, we were the coolest people because like we have been wearing this jacket, and now like they've got Corliss Williamson and all these guys, and they're winning this championship. And like we were the top dogs for like a month. And it was interesting kind of being cool for like a little month. Yeah.
That's really hilarious. My middle, I know I wasn't asked, but my middle school memory that's standing out is when we were all lined up across all the bench riders were lined up across the top bleacher, and the bleachers were all folded in, like that, but we were at the top. And this kid named Mark, who was like the bully, punched each one of us in turn. And then like the bell rang right before he got to me. And so then everybody agreed that we would like, line back up in our spots. So the next day, so he could, continue his reign. And I skipped school that day. So poor whoever it was got the next.
Beautiful. Beautiful.
It is a beautiful story. I won't be writing a graphic novel anytime soon. All right. And Cassie, the grand finale here. It's our number one upvoted question. We've been waiting for it, and here it comes.
What is some advice you can give to the aspiring authors or illustrators out there?
Oh,
that could be a 1-hour presentation. So we're gonna keep it to, how about one sentence each?
Okay.
And then I'll go as well. How about that?
Sure.
Varian.
Oh, of course.
It's like getting punched by that bully.
It's going to be a long sentence with commas in it. Read as much as you can, comma, read things you like and you don't like, comma, and then just try and experiment and see what works. Period.
Great. Yes. And Shannon?
Make mistakes, make more mistakes, get out and comma, get out and consume other art mediums to inspire your own creations, period.
That's great. And mine, I'm going to cheat my own rules here. I would say get good at something, because I think that in today's world, like, we're all connected to the internet where you have a thought, you put it out there, you get likes for it. But you can really take this moment, especially this winter in quarantine and whatever we're about to go through, and actually get good at something, like really dive into something that you love. And it, those people that really put in the work are going to have such an advantage over the people that don't. And so I would say that if you love comics, draw in somebody else's style, learn to develop your own style. If you love to read, write in somebody's style, then develop your own style. So I think that there's just such a great moment for creators, because we all have the tools to get better. And with YouTube and everything else, you can learn to do anything. So get a leap on all of your classmates by actually getting really good at something really specific. And those were all commas in between that. So
yeah, like look at me. I would love to get into archery. Just do it.
All right. Hey, I want to apologize to you, Varian and Shannon, again for me dialing in so late. I assure you it is not meant to be a slight. And I went into our audience. Thank you so much for waiting, everybody. It was really worth it to get to know these two, this fabulous writer and this fabulous artist. And so thank you so much again for doing this. I really hope one day you get to come to our bookstore and to meet your fans in person. So thank you so much, Varian, Shannon, and to everyone who tuned in tonight.
Yeah. Thanks, Jeff. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, everyone.
All right. Take care.
Bye, everyone. Thank you for tuning in.